Hi, welcome to Mind Sutra. Today I have a guest, Abhisha Jain, who is a social anthropologist, author, and a life coach. She is the managing trustee of Two-Way Lotus, Bharat. She is the project director of JanvaniSangraha.com. Also, she is the editor of Two-Way Lotus publications and documentaries. She has authored the book Rapes in India, A Way Out. Abhisha Jain, a management graduate from IMT Ghaziabad part-time with a long corporate stint with elite companies, and also has business management consultancy experience with renowned organizations. She is now a social anthropologist and a management trustee of Two-Way Lotus, a registered trust dedicated for the propagation of the Shraman way of life or self-reliant way of life. Now, as a social anthropologist, to achieve her mission of life, she has directly collaborated with people in different ways. Let's welcome Abhisha Jain on Mind Sutra. So, thank you so much for being on Mind Sutra and welcome to my show. I'm very intrigued by the intro I have given about you, and I want to know what is your story and how did Two-Way Lotus Trust happen?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mansi, for calling me on your show. And I'm pretty happy that I'll be able to narrate that story and share my journey with so many people. Thank you for this.
Yes.
Mansi, Trust Two-Way Lotus doesn't happen. I never ideated it. I never thought about it. It just, step-by-step journey which took me towards the trust side. It took me towards what I'm doing today.
Mm-hmm.
So today, in the umbrella of Trust Two-Way Lotus, which is we have founded this trust to propagate the Shraman way of life. Shraman way means the self-reliant way of life. Wherein you are the god of your own self. You don't need any kind of a miracle in your life to happen to do something bigger, more than the human side. You can achieve this by your own effort, by your own skills,
Right.
by your own self. So this is we wanted to propagate, and this is how my journey is. That what I have achieved today, or where I am today, is all because of my own efforts. From the scratch to the top, I have created it step by step, and this is what I inspire other people also. So under Two-Way Lotus, we do workshops on life skills and life management. I take one-on-one personal coachings also with people to guide them about how you can achieve your goals, how you can make your life successful through the Shraman way. And first, I am to feed my trust. I am running a publication unit where I publish books for people, and whatever money I get from publishing those books, I feed my trust through that money. I don't ask for donations. I don't want to ask for any other charity. So this is how it goes.
Okay, interesting, very interesting, and I quite resonate with the Shraman way of life that you mentioned, because Mind Sutra's logo is change your thoughts, change your life, and I totally get that with our own efforts we can change our life and change our circumstances instead of being stuck in the victim mode. So can you take us back to the point where you were thinking about or conceptualizing about starting this trust? So what was going in your mind? And you were in a corporate job before, so why did you leave that and think about going in this direction?
Right. Mansi, when I talk, I want to a little bit share about my personality traits, which I was carrying from the very childhood.
Yeah.
Though even I was not aware about that, and it is the world who made me aware about my personality. That you have something different, you have something unusual, or you have something wrong. So this is what the comments I got from people when I was in school, when I was in college, when I started working. People could not accept certain sides of my personality because they could not correlate with it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And that was the first question I asked myself, see, why I'm not able to adjust in these corporate culture, multinational culture attitudes. I am not able to adjust myself with the protocols I am supposed to follow. Why
Mm-hmm.
I find this so monotony, so rut of doing so many things similar way again and again and again. I was not happy with the corporate job, but it was my need, the need of money that I have to work with them.
Right.
So that was the first question. First time the question arrived, if not this, then what else I can do?
Mm-hmm.
I never had, except the management part, I never explored the other attributes of my personality, that what I'm good at, what is my skill set. So I know I'm good at management. I'm very good with the report making. I'm very good with planning and ideating things from the scratch. I'm good at that. But how can I do it in my personal life to make a revolution? I
Right.
was not sure. So one after the another, I changed my jobs. I changed my companies. I had several kind of bosses who treated and mistreated me. So all these things happened in the initial phase of the career. But as soon as I had a motherhood, I dropped my job to have a good time with my younger one, my infant child. So in that 1 year, I got a courage of doing something of my own. So
Mm-hmm.
I had a very childhood dream of having a dancing school or maybe joining a dancing school. So I approached somebody whom I was knowing who was already running a performing arts school. And I asked them that I want to open a small dancing school here in my city. So can you help me with something like that? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that guy saw something very much brilliant in me. And he said, okay, I will open a school and you manage it for me. So that was the first chance I got to explore myself the other way around, where I'm not reporting to anybody. I'm the boss
Mm-hmm.
of my own.
Okay.
I always had dreams of becoming a boss of my own. I was never ever thought of that I cannot do jobs. I'm a free bird. I want to remain free bird. I don't want to be responsible for others' deeds. So I always thought that I should do some kind of a business. I wanted to become a businesswoman. But
Mm-hmm.
I was not belonging to the background of a business family. And everybody was having either they were engineers or something like that, and they were doing their job. That kind of a family background I had. But
Yes.
when that guy relied upon me, I was able to explore all my capabilities as a business person. And I was
Mm-hmm.
so surprised to see myself that, and I was totally happy to see myself like that. So in a
Okay.
very small time, I turned around their business. I just did everything a business can, whatever we need to develop a business, right?
Right.
So I did all that in a very small time. And where now they are doing it very well. I don't want to name the company right now, but they are
Mm-hmm.
doing extremely well in their area.
Wow, that's
So that was my
inspiring.
first step.
Yes.
Yeah. So later on, and I started doing consultancy, business management consultancy for the SMEs and MSMEs, because they know their product, they don't know how to manage that product.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pretty happy doing that. I was able to explore my passion of managing the business without any cost on my head, and that was very good.
Right.
But then Mansi, what happened that as my child was growing, I had a daughter. I have a daughter, so she was growing. There was nobody who can give them the moral side or the value side of the whole development of the life. There was
Mm-hmm.
nobody who can take care and nurture their small pushes. Everybody, including me, was just running after making money.
Right.
So at that juncture, some awakening, some calling, this came up to me.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I had my second child, I was sure that I would be leaving this professional world. I would not, because we were like financially settled by that time.
Mm-hmm.
My money wasn't so much required for the family upbringing, developing. So I took a call, a very aware call, that no more the professional or the business side. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
skill set I have, now I will be using it for the social growth of the society, for the growth of the society, for the values, for the culture, for whatever we need apart from money. I will be spending for that. It just happened. I never thought that I will be doing it, but it just happened.
Interesting, very interesting. So you had your inner calling, which first from corporate it moved towards business side and then towards social side.
Yes, Mansi. I mean, at that point of time, I was clear that I have a skill set. I have a good potential. Now it is my choice. Thank God I can actually exercise that choice, that whether I want to earn money or I want to earn everything apart from money.
Right.
I got that choice, right? And I got support from my husband, my family, that I could make that choice. So, but although I have to prove them that yes, I can be good enough when I am on the social side, and I can create value and other things also, because it's not only money that you have to earn to have a good life. There are a lot of things a family needs apart from money to have a good life.
Right.
So I started earning all those good things. Step by step, I made some steps, some thought process, because I was knowing I am an enterprising person. I can start from the scratch and I can reach up to the goal. So I started doing that step by step, and this is how I moved further.
Very, very insightful and inspiring. So when were you when you were planning all this? So did any self-doubt and fear of failure come in your mind? Because it's an offbeat road, and very rarely you come across people who are into social entrepreneurship or social causes. And did you have that self-doubt that whether it will lead to fruition, or did you fear failure in launching your own social venture? And if yes, then how did you overcome it?
Yes, Mansi, I think everybody comes with those self-doubts. And they are the imprints of our childhood, the very first experiences we have in our childhood. We carry those imprints lifelong.
Yes.
And even if we understand them, we will not be able to give them away because they're the first imprints, right?
Right.
So, even in my childhood also, there were a lot of people around me, including my family, who have told me that you are not good enough. You're not good enough for this, you're not good enough for that. And I am still carrying that imprint in my life that I may not be good enough. But at that point of time, this fear, this may not be good enough line, I took it as a challenge. Okay, let's try. What else? I'll be a failure. Right. So when I started working as a social entrepreneur, and when I told people that, see, I am working this not for the money, but for the other reasons. So people used to laugh at me. If you are not earning money, why the hell you are doing this kind of a work?
Yes, yes.
So my first project was it took almost 3 years for me to complete that project. It was a lengthy project. So my friends, my peers used to laugh at me. What are you wasting your time, and why are you wasting your skills on these kind of a project which would not give you any money?
Right.
So that self-doubt came in my mind again and again. Not really because I wanted money, no, but because I had to prove it to the world that, see, even if I'm not gaining money, I'm gaining something, or some or the other way, I will gain money. I was not clear what I should tell them. I was not clear in my heart. But somehow I had to carry that project. I had to finish that project so that it gives me solace in my own self that I have done something. So as soon as that first project got over, I got started. I started getting calls from other people who wanted me. That project was developing a whole portal on the internet about the game script and putting it further into digitizing it, romanizing it, and I did audio, almost 200 audios I did.
Yeah.
So that it is approach. I mean, people can easily use it in anywhere, in any part of the world. So, by God's grace, I don't know, universe actually looks at your effort. What are you doing?
Yes.
And this is what I felt at that point of time. And I started getting assignments for editing books in English and Hindi.
Okay.
Yeah, out of the blue, I became an editor, and I was not knowing. Oh, after becoming an editor, I thought of fulfilling my own dream of writing something which can actually socially change the circumstances of today's society.
Yes.
So right after the Nirbhaya event, I met her mother, and I wanted to write something about that how the girls can save themselves from such atrocities. And I
Mm-hmm.
wrote a book by the name of Race in India and A Way Out. It was again a 3 years long journey, but I came with a book, and I got awards for this book as well.
Yes,
Women's
that
Wear
yeah,
Women's
sorry.
Wear gave me a Orange Flower Award for this making a video of the social change program.
Yes, yes.
So
It's commendable because it's such a sensitive topic, and you dared to go out of your league and write about it. It's a commendable job in itself because people cringe talking about this topic. So that itself is a reward in a big way.
yeah, people never wanted to talk about that in the open public. But after publishing this book, a lot of people came up to me, men also, not only women, that they need this kind of a book to help the society in general. So that was my reward.
Yes, absolutely. That's amazing. And with this, I think you started getting more recognition for all the work that you've been putting for so many years. And that's in a way, is it that has kept you motivated till this way long?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there is one organization by the name of JEPRA. They are Chennai based, and they recognized me for this work, and they motivated me that you should keep on doing such kind of a work, which people are not able to even think about. I mean, they are not able to think, they are not able to do anything about it. So they motivated me. So that was my motivation point that I have to keep on doing this kind of a work, which people do not think of walking that path.
Yes, absolutely. This is really inspiring to hear.
So somebody has to raise a voice, and maybe because of my inner calling, because of my inner voice every day and night, I was completely confident that yes, I am chosen by the universe to make a change here, to start the change process.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my motivation. That was the only motivation I had.
Interesting, very interesting. So, my work revolves around dealing with limiting beliefs of my clients that hold them from achieving their true potential. So, you had talked about, mentioning that we have a lot of childhood imprints that prevents us from,
Mhm.
really doing what we want to do than following the herd. So, can you talk about what sort of limiting beliefs you had? One, you mentioned that you felt you were not good enough, but any other limiting belief you had, and how did you overcome them?
Mansi, look, in the childhood, we do not know ourselves. We are not aware about our good qualities and the bad qualities. It
Mm-hmm.
is typically our family and the friends and the relatives who tell us that you are this. You have this quality is good. This quality is bad. You should
Hmm.
perform like this, and you should not perform like that. Otherwise, you will be a good girl or you will be a bad girl.
Hmm.
Right? Society has a lot of protocols and a lot of rules and regulations that they want everybody to abide with. The
Hmm.
same things happened with me. So there were like a lot of beliefs wherein I was the youngest sibling. So
Hmm.
my elder sister and brother used to actually tag me with any kind of demeaning words, with any kind of demeaning belief that I am not good enough, I will not be able to do. You have higher dreams and you want to do something without making an effort. You want to dream big. There are a lot of things. Even in
Hmm.
my family, I belong to a very conservative family wherein my parents always wanted just to make me get married to an NRI so that
Hmm.
their self-esteem grows up.
Hmm.
And my thought process was, how can I marry an NRI? Because he's just an NRI. He doesn't live in India. He lives in a foreign country. And that is the best quality he has, that he is living in another foreign country. Without knowing a man, without knowing a personality, if I have been married to somebody like this, how would I manage? Or my father wanted to, my father, when he saw me that, see, I am a little bit of, I am revolting his thought process. So he wanted me to join a government job, that give the exams and join a government job. And I just straightforwardly told him, I can't sit in an office chair from morning to evening and doing the files here and there. No, I can't do that. So everybody was confused. And what do you want? So even I was not knowing what I want and how would I achieve it. In the very beginning years of my college life, I was not knowing it.
Right.
And by the time I was 20, I declared myself that I'm a failure. I am not able to do anything which my peer group is doing, my classmates are doing. I am not able to do anything. I'm a total failure. By the time I was 20, I decided, I claimed that I'm a failure. But then one has to live a life. What to do? Even if you're a failure, you have to do something. Then I started listening to my heart at that point of time. Taking the baby steps, whatever is coming in my heart, if I'm able to do it, achieve it, then it's good. Otherwise, I will go to some other way.
Right.
Find other things that whatever my heart is calling, I will find some other things. So whatever I've been allowed to, whatever I could manage, I started doing small things, but they are coming straightly from my heart. I started listening to my heart. And I used to revolt people because I wanted to listen to my heart. And at the same time, I wanted to fall in place with the society also. So this kind of a limiting belief, my bosses tagged me that, see, why you have to think something extraordinary, why you are trying to be so creative with a regular job. You are not good enough. Why can't you be like other people who are just following our orders? I could not do that. And that demotivated me a lot, that if I have some kind of a good potential, why my bosses are not able to recognize? There are big people, they're the CEOs and the directors of the multinational companies, but why are they not able to recognize my talent, my potential? Why they want me to follow the same protocols for doing the similar work again and again and again, even if I am giving them the creative ways to do it. So I could not solve that mystery till the time I understood my own self.
Very interesting. And it's important to, stay clear of these limiting voices, because if, people expect you to fall in line and follow orders because they themselves are operating from a place of fear and insecurity. That's what I believe. And
that's true.
Yeah, so if we give in to their fears, then we don't reach our full potential, and that can keep us miserable.
That's true. And Mansi, in that case, because they are our seniors, they are much more experienced in our life. We want to follow them. But they are so much following the same herd, the same protocols, the same line and length, that even they don't know why they are doing it. It's just give them safety and security. They have no answers to our questions. So how can we follow them in that case?
Right.
So we have to find out the answers of our questions by our own.
Right.
And that segregates us from those people.
Right. So, if, for our listeners, you want to give 3 pieces of advice in order to follow their heart, be in professional or personal space, so what it would be? What kind of 3 advices you'll give to our listeners?
Obviously, one has to follow. If you want to follow your heart, you have to listen to your inner voices. To listen to your inner voices, okay, you may discard the outer voices, but to listen it clearly, you need to have some kind of a base philosophy, life philosophy, which will support you, will give you a very good backing, and then you can trust it, that life philosophy at the times of difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a Shraman way of life as my life philosophy. And whenever I used to get demotivated, I used to not able to understand my own self. There was so much of mess and confusion in my own self, in hearing my own inner voices. I backed upon that philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And you would not call these kind of a people as religious, but they are spiritual people who are connected to their spirit.
Mm-hmm.
It's the life energy which is making us live life the way we are living. So
Right.
that kind of a life philosophy is very much required for every human as their back support.
Right.
So that you can listen to your inner voices clearly. And then, planning is the second part, which is very much important when you are doing something which nobody has done. So instead of getting into the stadium and start playing cricket, in your head, you should start planning things from the scratch till the end, so that when you start playing the cricket, actually you know what shots where to hit, so that you can score. So
Right.
planning is one thing which is very much important. Doing anything which is out of the box.
Yes, absolutely.
And the third thing which Mansi I would like to share, which I have seen most of the people are not able to manage, when they get success by doing something out of the box, they are not able to manage. They are not able to keep their feet on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that becomes very dangerous for our own self, and which hits us hard later on. So,
Yes.
how to manage success is very much important.
Yes. So very three important piece of wisdom. So first, be connected to your, life values. What is the philosophy you follow? Then managing your success, and the second point,
And planning.
detailed planning is required so that you are clear to to how to follow a route that should be clear in your head. So three very important piece of advice that you have shared. So it was a very interesting talk with you. Thank you so much. If people want to know more about your work, so one I know is the website you were talking about, that is jinwanisangraha.com, if I'm right.
Yeah, my work is available on the 2alotus.com. All
Okay.
kind of a work I do. The snapshots of those works are available on 2alotus.com.
Yes.
And yes, they can reach out to me. They
And
can reach out to me on my Facebook. I am available on Facebook and no other social media.
okay. And your book was Rape in India, A Way Out, right?
Yes. That is
Yes.
a book available on Amazon.com.
Yes.
They can easily read that book as well.
And people can follow you on Facebook at Abhisha Jain, right?
At Abhisha Jain, but in Hindi.
Oh, yes. Okay. So
Abhisha Jain is written in the Devanagari script. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for your insightful talk. I am sure our listeners will get benefited from this. Thank you for such honest storytelling of your own life, and it will definitely add value. So thank you so much.
Mansi. Thank you so much bringing me on this platform. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure. It was same. Likewise.